me, so I'm going to need y'all to be really interactive. And I just want to, first of all, commend you, Cassandra, thank you first for having me, number one, but commend you for pushing. I know what it's like to host events and be like, ooh, is anybody going to show up? And then doing it with God is just a completely different thing. But I just want to commend you and even admonish you guys that whatever you're building, like Cassandra said, she said multiple times today that, you know, it's about passion and not necessarily, it's about purpose and it's not necessarily about the numbers. But one of the things that God used to talk to me personally about when it came to events was that it's about your level of impact. Because I would have events, like my launch event, y'all, I was launching my blog, maybe 2 people showed up, or 2 people registered ahead of time, one of them canceled and was like, I can't make it. And literally, all that came to my event were the speakers' support groups. So it ended up being a room full of like 30 people, which was great, but my first ever event was like a flop. Now, I say that to say that I had my first ever Gogetter Conference, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, but it was completely sold out, y'all. And it was just like a year after my first ever conference, or my first ever event. So, like she said, you got to just keep taking that next step. And so I commend you for taking the next step and just going with God and not, you know, falling back, because it's easy to give up, especially when it gets tough. But today I am talking about how to go, grow, and glow in power, the power of networking and its effects on your network. So one of the things about faith and business, number one, is that, you know, you don't see it often intertwined, right? A lot of times you see stuff about faith and Christian conferences, and then sometimes you see stuff that's for, you know, entrepreneurs or for media and entertainment, but it's not necessarily meshed. But there's such a need for it because it's different when you're doing things that are difficult and you're taking risks, but you're doing it with God and by faith. So even as Cassandra talked about the story of Paul walking on water, doing something that no man was able to do outside of Jesus, that was something that he was able to do by way of the Holy Spirit, by way of, the Holy Spirit wasn't there yet, but by way of Jesus and following and focusing on and fixing his eyes on Jesus. And so it is a different kind of approach when it comes to business. And I just really feel like a lot of us are looking at our businesses like they're just businesses, like they belong to us, right? And one of the things God showed me, and I talked about even at my conference, was that what your business, whatever it is that you're building, is like a baby. In the same way that Jesus was planted in Mary as a seed, as a baby, that Mary gave birth to benefit everyone else for the rest of eternity, that baby wasn't about Mary. It took Mary's surrender. And if you look at the story in Luke 1:26, I'm not here to preach today, but if you look at that story, basically what ended up happening was by way of the Holy Spirit, Mary was able to do something that nobody else had ever done. She had never, had sex with a man. So she's like, how am I going to give birth to this child? And the way that Gabriel answered was by way of the Holy Spirit. And so a lot of times we're trying to do things in our own strength. In reality, when it comes to business and entrepreneurship, you'll be more successful by doing it with God by way of the Holy Spirit, because he's the one who created your destiny. He's the one who planted that idea on the inside of you, and he cares about it being more successful than you care about it. Like, a lot of times we're worrying about, like, okay, God, why is nobody buying my t-shirts? Why is nobody showing up in my stuff? And it's kind of like, God cares about that, but he cares about your impact and the lives that you're going to change. So I just want to admonish you guys that whatever it is that you're building, whatever ideas that you have, it's not by happenstance, okay? That was my unexpected intro. So now I'm going to get into what we're talking about today, which is networking. Now, we're talking about the connection between networking and your net worth, right? So when you talk about net worth, you talk about your streams of income, right? And so has anyone ever heard the number of streams of income that the average millionaire has? I know y'all know. Right. You in the back. It's not 5, it's not 6, a little bit more. 7, okay? The average millionaire has 7 streams of income. Now, I want you guys to start shouting out different streams of income that you think you can have from to make money. Books, t-shirts, real estate, coaching, speaking, 2 more. Personal training. What's the last one? Dog walking. Okay. Those are all multiple streams of income, right? And the way that I'm a marketer by trade, and you can go to the next one, but I'm a marketer, and what I do is I'm a brand strategist. I know it's not super clear, but I'm a brand strategist, so a lot of what I talk about, even in business and branding, is marketing is about relationships, right? Marketing is all about building relationships, understanding your target audience, because you want to build a relationship with them and make them feel like it's real. So I'll just give you a little background about who I am, and then kind of some of the things that I've done in my life and how networking has really helped me to increase my streams of income. And when I launched those new streams of income, how I was able to be profitable doing it. Okay, so Alright, so just a little about me. My name is Candace Armour. I'm Candace Junée on Instagram. It's up there behind this. It's Candace. I want you guys to follow me now while we're waiting and not looking at the screens. Yeah, take out your phones. Yep, Candace, CANDACE JUNEE. This is a part of my networking. What I do, I connect with people via social media. But I'm the founder of, I'm the founder of Epic Fab Girl, the Gogetter Conference. I'm a brand strategist. I worked in corporate America for 3 years doing digital marketing consulting. Left my job in September of last year, and God has sustained me ever since. Woo! And I will say that it is not easy. It's not easy. I put on a $20,000 conference with no money of my own, but it was by way of, just taking every next step, asking people, sharing my vision with people, telling people what I wanted to do. And it really blew my mind that I sold 175 tickets for $150. Like, people don't invest in themselves like that these days, but for people to spend that amount of money with me meant that I was doing something right. And I made a decision to do it with God, and I believe that was the difference. Okay, so I wanted to first look at Proverbs 18 and 16, where it says, a man's gift makes room for him and brings him before great men. And I know we hear a lot of times that your gift makes room for you. We just heard Lauren and her beautiful voice. I'm sure that is going to put her before great people, because that girl can sing, right? And I think that the important part of that is what we see as Lauren stood up here was a product of what she did behind the scenes. So she put her gift to use. She began to pour into herself. I'm sure she's had coaching, has done some, whatever artists and musicians do, but she had to put in work behind the scenes so that she could, when she was presented in front of great men, that her gift was presented in the best way possible. So I just want to encourage you that, yes, networking is cool, connecting with other people is cool, but you have got to do the work so that behind the scenes, so that you're bringing something to the table. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. So I'm the founder of Epic Fab Girl, which is a brand that helps faith-based, career-minded women discover their purpose and go after their dreams fearlessly. The story behind how Epic Fab Girl happened, I basically had this dream to start this blog for women to help women discover purpose. And I was going to this church in Chicago, happened to meet this guy. We became friends. And next thing you know, in just conversations of doing work late night, he's like, okay, you're doing this blog, so who's going to do your website? Now, mind you, I can do a WordPress, but it ain't going to be all that cute. And I had to learn very quickly that you pay people for what you're not the greatest at, And a lot of times you see people's websites and you be like, ooh, that's trash. And it's like, that's your brand, that's what you're putting out there. So if you're good at picking out lingerie, but you might not be the best at putting together a website, girl, get you a bomb photographer, get you a bomb, makeup artist. You're not a makeup artist. You pick out lingerie. So you're going to find the people that help you support your vision, but you want to put your best foot forward. So even with that, with Epic Fab Girl, I was like, I'm not going to put on, build this website. And the guy, he started talking about my vision. Next thing you know, he's like, I'll do your website for you. So that was my networking by way of relationship with this guy. He's like, oh, I'll do your website. And I had been looking for, a web designer that was local for a long time, and I found it. Now, The other thing is I pray about my business. I pray about everything that I get ready to do. It's something that I do consistently for my clients as well. But you have to be prepared to talk about what it is that you're doing. The next thing that I had is my Gogetter Conference. Gogetter Conference is a 2-day experience for faith-based, career-minded women, and it basically is for entrepreneurs and influencers. So each of these speakers that I had, people that have tons of influence on social media. I've got Arian Simone, who's really connected with, one of her best friends is like Megan Good and Devon Franklin. These are some really high-profile people that may be kind of behind the scenes, but in some capacity, I met them, and then by way of my relationship with each of these people, I then reached out to them and was able to ask them to actually speak at my conference because of by way of relationship with me. This is my pastor right here. She ended up praying and stuff. In these pictures up here, one of the girls I went to high school with her, another Jennifer Lucy Tyler, and she's speaking today at the conference because of my connection with Cassandra. I was like, okay, this girl is great, you should have her. So I just want to point out that all of these people I either knew from like childhood. Noelle Renee, she's my Neo. I'm an AKA, so she's my Neo. And I just began to reach out to people within my network and began to use their strengths to pour into what I was doing. So networking doesn't have to feel, stuffy. Like you don't have to network at you don't have to be at a networking event to network. And I think that used to scare me because I would be like, okay, what do I say? What do I say? And it's like, no, just be yourself, be normal when you go into different spaces and atmospheres, and that will make room for different things. Now we've got some sponsors. How many of you guys know who Lotta Body is? Yep, Lotta Body, TGIN, thank God it's natural. We had some amazing sponsors, and the CEO of TGIN actually spoke at my conference. But once I asked her, hey, here's what we're doing, they're like, actually, can she speak? I'm like, girl, yes. Like, come on. And how I got these were for the Lotta Body. I actually was in a Facebook group meet for AKA entrepreneurs in Chicago, right? And this lady reached out to me, and she's like, hey, I'm doing XYZ, I do PR. I would love to just go to coffee with you. Now, I could have been like, girl, I'm busy planning this conference. I don't have time. Like, no. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to just go to this coffee date with her. I get on this coffee date, start telling her about what I do, and she was like, I just want to figure out how I can help you. She was like, well, my major client, Lotta Body, we can sponsor gift bags. Excuse me? So it was just by way of relationship with her and being open and genuine, being myself and telling people and having a clear message about what I do. Even like if you look at the Gogetter Conference, it's clear. It's a 2-day experience for faith-based, career-minded entrepreneurs and influencers that want to chase God, discover passion, and pursue their purpose. So because I have a very clear vision, people are able to attach to it, and they don't mind connecting. We had some major brands in Chicago, a radio station. We had tons of other sponsors, but it was by way of my relationship with these people or other people's recommendations that I was able to make some of these things happen. Can we go to the next one? This is the market. Okay, sorry, maybe it is working. Okay, so I also have Candace Junée Consulting. This is something I launched since leaving corporate America. And what this ended up, I always wanted to do consulting for, different clients. But one of the things I noticed is that people always ask me for the same questions. How did you build your business? How did you, figure out who your target market was? How do you know where to start? And so I found that so many small businesses and entrepreneurs didn't have, and I didn't talk about this before, but I had my MBA with a focus in marketing and accounting. And so a lot of people just, were starting businesses or started selling t-shirts and became successful but didn't really consider it a business. So what I ended up doing, because everybody's always asking me for stuff, by way of my relationship with people, I started being like, okay, here are my consultant fees. And then people started paying. So it's literally your relationships that will not only make room for you to start making money, but those relationships and genuine connections that you make will help you to make, help others refer you to them. In the same way that Rick referred, me to Cassandra, he's like, oh, I know this girl, I know what she stands for. people understand who my brand is and what my brand stands for before I even speak for my brand, right? And that's how you know when you have a brand that that resonates with other people. And so this happened also by way of networking, right? I make money by way of networking. My streams of income. Next thing, actually a week ago, I officially became a published author. Thank you. I had already written this email devotional, and then God just put it in my spirit, like, girl, you need to sell this. And I'm like, okay, great. And next thing I know, I talked to one of my friends, and I'm like, hey, girl, an editor or a publisher or somebody, I need to get this book out in 2 weeks. And do you know that in a matter of 2 weeks, she edited my book, she edited the cover, she designed the cover, we went through all these reviews by way of me asking someone. And the only reason that my friend even knew to connect me with this girl was because she already had a business or a brand that she either consistently talked about, that she knew she worked with brands like BET, she worked with these major networks, so I'm like, ooh, she good at what she do, I trust it. So it's just literally relationships open the door. So I just want to stress that like so much. If you don't get anything else today, know that networking is about building relationships. Relationships are the keys that unlock resources when you don't have access or finances. You always hear people say your net worth determines your net worth, but it really does. But you have to do the work behind the scenes. Diddy is not just gonna come up to you and be like, hey girl, just because I know you, I want to slide you this cash. That's not how it works. You have to have something behind what it is that you're doing and building. Let me know how I'm doing on time too. Talk about it. All right, so the agenda for today, we're going to talk through different keys of networking. First, we're going to talk through authenticity, value, events, online interactions, and then staying connected. All right, so authenticity. Like I said, authenticity opens the door to relationships, right? So when you're meeting people, you're connecting with people, I know people always tell you, perfect your pitch. But what that really means is you should be so comfortable knowing what you do for your business and who you do it for, that in any conversation, even if I tell, I'm sorry to keep picking on you because you're the only one that said something about lingerie. But if someone, even if I'm a man and I'm talking to her about that lingerie, I'm like, I don't need no lingerie, but maybe I have a sister that may be able to utilize what you're doing. So it's like, you want to always be talking about whatever it is your business is and be very clear about that. And you don't want to seem like pushy, right? Like, it should come up in genuine conversation. It should come up in genuine conversation and not just, you randomly deciding to be like, oh my God, here's what I do, here's my business card, trying to slide that in. It's like, just be authentic. And especially when you're meeting people one-on-one, one of the things I've learned is to ask open-ended questions about them. People love to talk about themselves, y'all. Let them talk about themselves and listen. And by way of listening to what they talk about, find a way to intertwine what it is that you do, how that can fit in. So if somebody tells me, yeah, I have this bakery and it's going really well, except I can't figure out how to get millennials in. Bam, that's my way of being like, girl, I do market. I help businesses market their businesses to their right audience. I help them perfect their message and their craft to their right audience so that we can get the right people in the door. I didn't even have to say, hi, my name is Candace. I have Candace Junée Consulting, and we help small businesses and entrepreneurs take their businesses to the next level. I didn't have to do that. I had to ask her about herself and then position myself to be a solution to her problem. So that right there was free information. That I'm telling y'all secrets that gets me coin. So I'm just making sure y'all know. And then you want to really be genuine about learning what the other person does, and you want to talk about your passions and be genuinely interested in what they do. All right. Next piece is adding value. So even as we talked about earlier, I love how y'all talked about that whole relationship and how it went from you guys meeting in a group meet to then him being, a part of the conference and it was like by way of relationship, he was able to help you in so many different areas. So what you want to do is make sure that you're adding value, because people tend to help those who help them, right? So you want to make sure that you're bringing something to the table. You don't want to just reach out to people people and be like, hey, I want to have coffee. Hey, let's go out for lunch. And it's like, you can do that, but you have to know that you're bringing something to the table, right? After my conference ended, it was all over social media. Everybody and their mother was like DMing me like, girl, let's do coffee, let's do lunch. And honestly, it can be kind of overwhelming. And I couldn't imagine, I'm just a girl from Chicago who hosted a conference. I couldn't imagine how many high, profile people get DMs and messages all the time. What about, hey, I really would love to connect with you. Let me know, do you need any work done or free work? Offer your time to that person. They may need somebody. They may need an assistant. And you end up learning a lot from being under their wing versus always trying to take. It's about figuring out what you can bring to the table. And then you also want to figure out collaboration opportunities. So maybe I have a makeup line, right? And I know that she has a lingerie line. I'm like, well, we could just do one photo shoot together. We pay for, the photographer together. We pay for the makeup together. You got we gonna do the neck up, and there go my, makeup stuff, and then we get the whole full body. And then that's a great way to collaborate. So you have to continue to think about creative ways to connect with other people that you're meeting. And then also figure out who you can connect them with. That's one of the things that I do all the time. I always figure out, okay, I might not need your services, but I know someone else that does. So people really value that, and then they start to send me people. All right. The next piece of this is event networking. So event networking, particularly one of the things that I do is I make sure that I support other people's events. And I do that because people pay attention to who supports them. And they end up supporting you. That's why I was like, wow, all these people are at my conference. And I realized it was because I always support other people. Even if I can't show up, I'll buy a ticket to their event and not show up and be like, hey girl, I'm gonna just sew into it. It's okay. I'm sorry, I don't have time. But one of the things I do is I go on Eventbrite or different things, and I find women's focused events, and I show up in those spaces because I want people to know my face. And I also want to see what people are doing in those spaces. So I'm like, okay, they did this well, they can improve on this. So I'm trying to figure out how I can make my stuff better, but at the same time, I'm meeting like-minded people when I'm in those spaces. The next piece is that, consistently support local events and conferences. But like Cassandra said, start connecting with your peers. One of the things I see all the time when, at the end of an event is people want to rush up to the panelists and be like, oh, let me buy your book, let me do this. And it's like, you're forgetting that, especially if you pay $100 to be in a room, that means that person is equally invested in their future as you are. So what that means is they're dedicated too. So that's a valuable person, and you never know where they're going to go. I met with so many different people and connected with so many different people that ended up really taking off. And I was like, wow, I'm so glad I met them, when I was just Candace and they were just Ashley, And it's like, you stay connected with these people, and don't underestimate just really having genuine conversations, okay? Which leads to my next piece, is have genuine conversations. Another really big tip that I have for networking is I exchange information in the moment, especially with social media. I know business cards are cool, they look pretty, but at the end of the day, there is nothing like snatching somebody else's phone and be like, oh my God, this is how you spell my name on Instagram, and then following yourself. I do that all the time, and I'm like, put your name in here. Because now when you see my picture up and down Instagram, you're going to double tap, I'm going to double tap, and we're going to keep it pushing, but I'm staying fresh in your mind so that the next time I reach out, it's not just a, where do I remember this girl from? It's a, oh, that's this girl, she's dope, I know what she's doing, I see what she's been doing. Yeah, let's connect, let's collect, right? And so the other piece of that is when you meet someone in person, follow up right after the event. I have an email, on my email signature, I have my picture, so that when I reach out, hey girl, thanks so much, nice meeting you, whatever, I send an email, but it has my picture, and a lot of people are like, wow, I met so many people today, and I would not have known who you was if your picture wasn't there. So it's really good to have that in your email signature so that you can stay connected with people. The other piece of that is, even if you meet them on social media, like he said, slide in their DMs and be like, hey girl, so nice meeting you today, thanks for talking. That's really huge because a lot of times if you go to DM them later, you at least have that history that you guys spoke before versus who is this girl, what do they want, right? And one of my secrets is you want to become friends with people before you ever ask something of them. You want to feel like if somebody asks you for a ride and they on the corner and you're like, no, you might kill me. Like, I'm not allowed to do that. But if it's this, a person that you've seen 4 or 5 times and they're like, hey, I know you're going in my direction. Is it too much to ask? Can you just drop me off along the way? They're going to be more open to connecting with you and helping you out because you have some level of a relationship. Okay? And then do not underestimate online interactions. And I think of like social media and Instagram just like a room. If you sit back and you don't say anything, like nobody's gonna talk to you. But if you get yourself up and go shake hands, say hi, nice to meet you, love what you're doing. I heard that you have this lingerie line and that's really cool, or this fashion boutique or whatever. A lot of times that's really important because one of the things I do even on social media, when I find other like-minded people on social media, I'll send them a DM and be like, hey girl, just from one, Black female entrepreneur that loves Jesus to another, I just love what you're doing. Stay encouraged. I know it can be tough. Like, I'll send those messages, and usually people are so responsive, and then I notice them liking my pictures. I notice them connecting with me. But it's about making genuine connections, even online. A lot of the people that spoke at my conference were people that I met online. My social media manager, if you go to Epic Fat Girl on Instagram, I met her by way of social media. We just connected. She decided to be a writer for my blog. Then when she was a writer for my blog, I asked, my team, like, hey, we're looking for an event planner. We are looking for a social media manager. She offered her services. You all know that this girl charged people $500 a month and she don't charge me nothing because of the relationship that she has with me. And it's literally just a matter of networking. And we didn't meet in person until, months after our initial connection online. My conference was the second time I saw her in person. So do not underestimate social relationships, but be genuine with people and connect with your peers instead of running up to, the high-level people in the room. Next thing is that GroupMe and Facebook groups. So just like you saw that Cassandra and Malik met through a Facebook or through a GroupMe, join GroupMes that for like-minded people. In Chicago, there's like a Black women entrepreneurs, there's a Black entrepreneurs GroupMe. A lot of times people will post stuff in those groups. Same thing with Facebook groups. There's a lot of entrepreneur stuff for your area or whatever area expertise you may have. But you want to join those groups with like-minded people because when you're connecting and putting stuff out there, people know that you kind of have like that like-mindedness, so they're willing to connect and vibe with you in that capacity. So do not underestimate that. Now, in those groups, you want to make sure that you're a valuable contributor. So what that means is that you're not just, when you need somebody to speak at your conference, you're like, hey, looking for speakers, hey, looking for sponsors, hey, does anybody have a t-shirt line? It's like when people are putting posts out there like that, you're being responsive. You're sharing articles that you found helpful for you as a Black woman entrepreneur. So you're adding value to that space so that you don't look like you're just a leech and sucking out all this energy from that group or that atmosphere. All right? Now, this next piece is about staying connected. Staying connected really ensures longevity. It keeps you on others' minds. So you really want to just stay on top of other people's minds, become friends with them before you ask for something, and reach out for coffee only if you know that it's a mutual connection, right? So one of the girls after my conference ended up reaching out and she was like, hey, I want to do coffee. And she was very specific. She's a graphic designer. She was like, do you need graphics for your future stuff? Do you need, and I can help you. And I'm like, okay, yes, girl, I can help you. And I can help you do some branding stuff. I can help you. So it's kind of like, what can we have as an even exchange for her time? And that has really, really helped me out. And, if you're going to reach out to somebody, know what you want from them, too. Because a lot of times it's like, oh, hey, I just want to be around you. It's like, know what it is that you want to get back from them and be very clear about that. Because a lot of times people are like, okay, you from South Africa and you like what I'm doing, but what? Like, it's like, you want to be very clear and specific, okay? Another really big thing I do with staying connected when I meet people in the same city as me, I invite them to other events. So it doesn't have to be a coffee date, but it can be, hey girl, I'm showing up as this. I know I haven't seen you in a while. Like, for example, my friend Angie is here. I basically was like, I'm coming to DC. I'm like, if you're in town, I know you have a business where you make bags and stuff for people. So maybe this is something that was cool for her, but it's an opportunity for me to connect with her. But then she's also connecting with other people. So that's a really, really great way. And then people start to invite you in rooms. one of my the speakers for my conference invited me to an event that was sponsored by BMW. Now, I was mad I couldn't make it, but it was like, to be invited in rooms like that, it's by way of relationship and staying connected. And then show up to events with leaders that you like to connect with. So if there is a Sean P. Diddy Combs that you want to connect with, if there is, a business coach or somebody that you're following on social media and they're having events, a lot of times it's easier to connect with them in person at a local event, send them a DM and be like, hey, it was so nice to meet you. And then if you need something from them down the line, then you can reach out. But a lot of times, I'm going to be honest, I reached out to Heather Lindsay, Sarah Jakes, I want all of these amazing people at my conference, but one thing I realized was I didn't have a relationship with them, and they didn't know who I was, and I hadn't built credibility with them. So you want to make sure that whoever it is that you want to connect with that may be kind of higher up, that you either use the connections that you have to get to them, or you build genuine relationships by showing up at events they're actually going to be at in your city. So that is my last piece of this. Thank you so much. Yeah, but we let you know. Does anybody have any questions for Candace or Malik? No? You do?
I do. For both of you, right? So
Mike. Malik, come up, Candace. So this is closing out our morning workshop. Can you hand it to Jay? Jay, can you get the question? All right. Yeah.
What's up, speakers? I can't let y'all off the hook that easy. Quick question for you all. Sometimes we think of entrepreneurship as like this magic pill that only the privileged are able to take. What was the inciting incident that allowed you to say, okay, I think I want to start my own business?
We're going to start with Kim. So my dad was an entrepreneur, and he always kind of worked on his own, but I always put entrepreneurship far off. So actually, when I was an undergrad, I started a hair extensions company by way of, I was the girl that was laying out everybody's sew-ins, and then people like, where you get your hair from? I started actually selling hair for another lady, and then realizing like, no, I'm about to get all my money. So it was just kind of by accident for me, but then down the line, when it came to corporate, I realized that I was putting in 8, 10, 12 hours for somebody else, and if I was putting the same level of energy that I was putting into their stuff, that I could make myself and be a millionaire before 30. So at the end of the day, I was like, I am worth the investment, and it might be like the little struggle walk that I have to take, before I get there. I just realized that I was worth the investment.
For me, can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, so my mom was very firm on we're not allowed to work while we're in school. So, can y'all hear me? Yeah, so I was like, all right, but I want money, right? She's like, well, you want money, come to me. It's like, I don't want to come to you, So I started my first business in middle school. It's actually funny, Lauren's here. Lauren and I went to middle school together. She might remember this. I used to sell bubble gum for 25 cents a piece. And in middle school, I used to buy the Bubblicious, it's $5 in a pack. I'll pull them all out, put them in a big bag. I'll buy 5 packs, and then so I'm making like $20 a day if I sell my bag. As a middle school student, that's like movie money, that's putt-putt golf, and y'all know anything about that, whatever. So to me, once I did that, and my mom was like, oh, this is kind of dope, so she supported me in that, and I recognized like, I can make money for myself. Like, I can support what I need to do if I invest in myself. So I learned very early on, and that progressed me to a whole bunch of different things. So that was kind of the spark for me. And then once I recognized that people were running to me and saying, how do you do that? How do you do that? And I was able to communicate how I was doing that to them. And they were like, I get that. I can do that. And they did it. And I was like, okay, this is for life for me. And this is very, like 10 years old. First PayPal account, 10 years old.
So all the way through. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes? Jay? Mike? Oh, okay. It's okay.
Sorry, it's not good. So, what was the process between being employed by another company or being employed under someone else and your self-employment? Obviously, that's a big jump for people. What kind of tips do you have for people that are trying to make that transition?
Go ahead. Okay. I actually have a lot of resources and blogs that I've written, so I can share with you later a little bit more. But my big thing was I maximized the time that I had when I was at my job, and I was using that to fund like the things that I was doing on my with my side stuff. So I had to become a master of my time. So even though I was working maybe 9 to 5 or 9 to 7, I would get off, go eat, go to the gym, but then I would work until midnight on my stuff. And then I would get up early mornings if I needed to. So it's like you have to use all that time that you have and actually pour into it so that by the time you're ready to jump, you actually have something to do with your time. Because a lot of times people, walk away from their job and then they don't have nothing to do from 9 to 5. Like you got to figure out what you're going to do with your time. The other thing is you want to make sure that you're saving up income, right? So for me, I wanted to make sure that I had at least 6 months of income so that I could, feel comfortable leaving my job. And I wish I would have saved more, but you're never going to feel like you're ready. Like, for me, it was that relationship with God that taught me, like, hey, now it's time to jump. I got you. But you definitely want to prepare for it ahead of time.
Almost like my best friend, she definitely knows this story. So I'm happy you asked that question. She's thinking about doing that, so I'm really excited to hear you ask that. But my process is very similar. Back in high school, I kind of planned out my life, and we wrote letters to ourselves. It was funny when I got them 5 years later, and I was like, I'm doing this. But it was making that plan and making everything those digestible steps, and I did that from graduating high school, went through college. I said, okay, I'm gonna move back, I'm gonna come back to Maryland, I'm gonna work here for a year, I'm gonna move to New York, I'm gonna work there for a year, and then I'm gonna go full-time entrepreneurship. I think I worked in Maryland for a year and a half. I got a great promotion, so I got a year in this position. But I pretty much stuck to that, and I was the same thing. I said, let me save a year's worth of expenses. I have a process that I do where I pretty much figure out the exact expenses for 3 months, do the average, multiply it by 12, and that was my goal. Yeah. So now that if I can give myself at least a year to try, right? And I literally could have not made another dollar for a year through my businesses and still live the same lifestyle. And so that was important. You don't want to feel like you're starving, because I work for myself, I'm starving, I need to get a job. No, save your expenses, and then now you'll be able to give yourself a chance. 6 months, that works as well. But I really wanted, New York was just a little expensive. I was like, you know what, let's save a year's worth. And I did it. And then I did make money, and I sold things, and I was like, I can do this. So as of tomorrow is 2 years full-time entrepreneur. So everybody can do it. You can do it. It's a planning type situation. Put a plan into place. Look at your numbers. Know your numbers. Save if you can. Create multiple streams of income to save quicker, and then you'll be able to give yourself at least a year to try. So.
All right. Wrapping it up. All right. Give our workshop facilitators, Candace, a round of applause. Thank you, guys. Thank you. And just to piggyback